It is now my pleasure to introduce one of our two nonfiction mentors for this year, Toi Derricotte. Toi is both a poet and a nonfiction writer. Her memoir, The Black Notebooks, won the 1998 Anisfield Wolf Book Award for Nonfiction and was named a New York Times Notable Book of the Year. Among her many awards are the Distinguished Pioneering of the Arts Award from the United Black Artists, the Elizabeth Cray Award for Service to the Field of Poetry from New York's Poets House, and fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, the Rockefeller, and the Guggenheim Foundations. In 1996, with poet Cornelia Siri, Toi co-founded Cave Canem Foundation, a tremendous community of African-American poets offering week-long writing retreats at the University of Pittsburgh, Greensburg. Of the Black Notebooks, Nikki Giovanni wrote, "It takes a special love to reveal the pain, the hurt, the questions that one must raise if one is to be a whole human being. This is not a journal of some faraway, exotic place, but of that internal journey of the soul." And that is a journey that Toi encourages others to take with her and to make on their own. And certainly the writers who are fortunate to work with her have made that journey. Last night at the potluck dinner that begins each of our residencies, as we crowded around Betsy's dining room laughing and talking about a whole wide range of subjects, not necessarily the subjects you would think a group of writers would be talking about over dinner, I thought, this is like a big family gathering, only it's a happy, functional family gathering. I don't get many of those. This morning in seminar, Toi led the group on an exercise on revision and asked one participant to volunteer to revise her work out loud in front of the group. Some great material resulted from that exercise, prompting the writer to ask, "Can I keep you?" So how lucky all the writers are in this group to be able to keep Toi with us as we move forward with their work, and how lucky we are to have her in our family. Please welcome Toi Derricotte.
Jared even remembers to take the glass, and he's so wonderful, so organized. It's such a pleasure to be here, such a treat, and I had such a wonderful time last night. And when you started to, talk about last night, I was so worried that you were going to tell them about the time I met Omar Sharif at that hotel on Park Avenue. I'll tell you all about it later. But anyway, we had a great time last night, and we had a great time today in the workshop. And I so rarely, I don't think I've ever worked before with poets, nonfiction, and fiction writers in the same room. And it just adds a kind of excitement and vitality that was a real gift. And it's just being here is a gift. What a great place the Loft is. I guess you know how lucky you are to have the Loft here. Is this working okay, the mic? A little more toward me, okay. Tell me, is that okay now? Is that better? Just let me know. But there's no place like the Loft, right? This is it. And 32 years. Wow. It's fabulous. So I always believe things happen for a reason, and tonight I'm going to read work from a book, my new book of poetry that I just sent in on Monday. And it's been a long time. I haven't had a book in 13 years or something like that. And it's not that I haven't been working this. I don't publish books as quickly as I would like to. To say the least. But anyway, I'm glad I can read it here for you. I hear this is a very warm audience, and I can already tell that. Okay, so let's start out with this one. This is from the book right before this book of poetry. Black Boys Play the Classics. The most popular act in Penn Station is the three black kids in ratty sneakers and t-shirts playing two violins and a cello, Brahms. White men in business suits have already dug into their pockets as they pass and toss in $1 or two without stopping. Brown men in work-soiled khaki stand with their mouths open, arms crossed on their bellies, as if they themselves have always wanted to attempt those bars. One white boy, 3, sits cross-legged in front of his idols in ecstasy, their slick, dark faces, their thin, wiry arms, who must begin to look like angels. Why do these tremblings pull us? A, beneath the surface, we are one. B, I did not think that they could speak this tongue. I did a lot of meditating in the 90s, and I went to a retreat house with a fabulous nun who was kind of insane and wonderful, and, I wrote some poems there from a letter about snow. I am at a retreat house, and the nun who runs the house told me to look at my face in the mirror. I did, but the only thing I keep seeing is the face of Snow, the huge Pyrenees sheepdog. He's so frightened, they can't let him off his leash. His human eyes, long-suffering, like a saint who's forgotten how to smile. I hear the breed is naturally shy, and this one was abused by his previous owner. No wonder he backs away. But to see a creature so large, 120 pounds, so timid. Once, they say, scared by a deer, he broke his leash and ran. A mile away, a woman stopped with her pickup, and he jumped right in. Who knows why the frightened make decisions? Today, there must be some frightened people in this room. Glad to know that. Sometimes you don't know that in New York in an audience. Today, I jogged with him, his thick, rangy self leading the way. Now, we're sitting in the shade by the community house while I write this letter. Grace Paley reading. You know Grace Paley, right? And she read up here a lot with chewing gum and in tennis shoes, I'm sure. When I was teaching at Old Dominion University, I had her come down and read, and 8 o'clock, everybody's sitting there, where's Grace? And we're looking all around, and we can't, looking for this little person in her tennis shoes go, and we can't find Grace. And so I brought her down, so I have to go look for her, right? So I find her in the bathroom. Grace Paley reading. Finally, the audience gets restless, and they send me to hunt for Grace. I find her backing out of the bathroom, bending over, wiping up her footprints as she goes with a little sheet of toilet paper, explaining, in some places, after the lady mops, the bosses come to check on her. I just don't want them to think she didn't do her job. Is that a Grace story? It says a lot, doesn't it? And Captivity was the poetry book before that. And I started in this book talking about class and race. And it was so weird. When I came to New York in the 60s, I'd never read an African-American poet, not in grade school, not in high school, not in graduate school. And so I didn't know a lot about African-American poetry, but I did know that I wanted to explore sort of the dirty laundry that we weren't supposed to talk about. And in the Black middle-class family, you were really not supposed to talk about what was going on inside. And so I didn't identify with the Black arts movement because I really felt I couldn't write about what I needed to write about at that time. And I was just starting out. And I found myself identifying with, like, Robert Lowell. And so if you can imagine, this Black middle-class woman reading Robert Lowell, writing about the moneyed, New England families and mental illness, and the decay of the New England families and the illness. So, but there's these amazing crosses. When you need to write about something, you have to find whatever is going to support you to do that. And that's true for all of us. The weakness. That time, my grandmother dragged me through the perfume aisles at Saks. She held me up by the arm, hissing, "Stand up," through clenched teeth, her eyes bright as a dog's cornered in the light. She said it over and over as if she were Jesus and I were dead. This is the best audience I think. I'm serious. Nobody's ever laughed like that on that line. Jesus Christ. This is fabulous. She had been solid as a tree, a fur around her neck, a light-skinned matron whose car was parked, who walked on swirling marble and passed through brass openings in 1945. There was not even a Black elevator operator at Saks. The saleswoman had brought velvet leggings to lace me in and cooed as if in the service of all grandmothers. My grandmother had smiled, but not hungrily, not like my mother who hated them but wanted to please. And they had smiled back as if they were wearing wooden collars. When my legs gave out, my grandmother dragged me up and held me like God holds saints by the roots of the hair. I begged her to believe I couldn't help it. Stumbling, her face white with sweat, she pushed me through the crowd, rushing away from those eyes that saw through her clothes, under her skin, all the way down to the transparent jeans, confessing. Yeah, did any of you ever read Anne Moody's Coming of Age in Mississippi? Yeah, what a book, huh? But it's so amazing to think that in the North, we were going into Saks Fifth Avenue, of course, not as Black people, but going into these places if we could. And in the South, people were living very close to as they did in slavery. And if you read that book, it is a powerful book. And there's a new book out about the migration of Black people from the South in the 1900s. That I think is going to get the Pulitzer this year by Isabel Wilkerson. What's the name of it? Who knows the name of it? Well, look up Isabel Wilkerson, and it's about the Great Migration. I think that's what it's called, the Great.
Oh, the Warmth of Other Suns. Yeah.
The Warmth of Other Suns. That's right. A great book.